Hey guys, and welcome to this new series about making a first-person controller in Unity, but more importantly, it's about making a modular weapon system for basically any Unity game. It doesn't matter if it's an FPS game, if it's an RTS, if it's a third-person shooter. I've already talked about designing a weapon system, and for this video, I thought it would be a great idea to just give you the plan that I have in mind for this series, and also a tutorial on how to create a level for your FPS game in Unity. My plan for this series is to start by the first-person mechanics. For example, the first video is going to be about implementing a first-person controller. Then we can talk about some aspects like head bobbing, weapon sway. So here, for example, if I move my mouse cursor left and right, you will notice that the weapon is being rotated a little bit. If I move to the side, my weapon rotates as well. This is a common effect that you find in FPS games. We can also have crouching. We can have the weapon in the high ready or low ready states. And here, when I move close to a wall, I'm automatically going into high ready state. That way the weapon will not collide with the wall. So there are a lot of mechanics that have nothing to do with a weapon system, and I want to get those out of the way first. So the first chapter of the series will be all about these FPS mechanics. Then after that, we'll implement the technical design that I presented in the first video. And there will be some overlap between the first chapter and the second one. Because, for example, we can talk about weapon sway if we don't actually have weapons. We can talk about procedural animations like a procedural shooting animation if we don't have a shooting mechanic and if we don't have weapons on the character. But I'll do my best to keep the videos focused on one subject. Okay, this is the project that we're actually going to work on. So I created a small scene here using Probuilder. This is the result after the first couple of videos in the series. So we'll have a basic FPS controller with some head bobbing. Here I have a shooting range where I organized these assets. So they're ready for your grenades, for your explosions, and we can explore the level. So right now I don't have sprinting, but I plan to add sprinting using Shift. That will probably be in the first video. Okay, so how to go about creating such a level in Probuilder? Okay, so first let's talk about the project setup. So the project is using Unity 6, and let's go to the package manager. By default, the project already has input system, which is good. This is what we're going to use for input. We also need Probuilder. So you need to go to the Unity registry and look for Probuilder and install it. And while we're here, let's also look for Cinemachine and install that as well. So I'm not really going to do anything significant with Cinemachine. I'm just planning ahead in case we need to add something. For example, in your game, if you want to add a cinematic and if you want the camera to cut from one camera to another, then if you're already using Cinemachine for your character, it will be much easier to transition to a cinematic or use some features of Cinemachine later on. I'm just adding Cinemachine for future-proofing the project, but our code will work with Cinemachine or without it. Now that we have Probuilder, we have to decide whether this level is in the outdoors or indoors. I'm mostly going to talk about indoors. So if you want to create an indoors level like this, you go to Cube here, create cube. And it's also good if you enable grid snapping here, and you can choose the size of snapping. In most cases, you want to keep it at 0.5, 1, or even 0.25 for more accuracy. So we create a cube here, and let's keep the height at like 5 or 4 meters. And what I'm going to do is right-click on this mesh, then go to Probuilder Mesh, then flip normals. In my scene, I'm in shaded mode. We're going to talk about lighting later, but if we want to ignore the baked lights, we can go to unlit draw mode. This is better for designing without having to worry about the lighting. Okay, let's click on this icon here. This will allow us to choose whether to select vertices, edges, or faces. So let's go to face selection mode. And here we can click on this button to toggle selecting hidden items. Okay, so let's click on this wall. So we can move it with the move gizmo here, like this. And with the grid snapping on, you will notice that it snaps to 0.5 meter values, which is really good. So let's put it right here. And now if we want to create a new room here, we can hold Shift, then drag on an axis to extrude. So now we've created new geometry. We can click on this wall or this wall. And let's click on this wall and let's hold Shift and drag on the Z axis. And now we've created another section here. Let's do the same over here. Let's click here, hold Shift, then drag. So let's say we want to create a door here. What I'm going to do is go into edge selection mode. Then I'm going to select this edge. Then I'm going to right click, insert edge loop, or we can also press Alt U. And now I have this edge loop. We can move it up. Then what I'm going to do is insert two edge loops here. So I'm going to click here and press Alt U. So we have this edge loop here, and I'm going to move it to this side. And let's do the same over here, Alt U, and let's insert another edge loop. Okay, so here we have some geometry that we can work with. So let's go to face selection mode and let's click on this door frame here. Let's hold Shift and drag on the red axis. So now we have a door frame. Let's hit Shift and drag again to create a room. So by the way, I'm using right-click navigation in Unity. This is the fly mode navigation. To use it, just hold the right-click button and use WASD. So we can either go into the level and select the roof, or I can go here and toggle the hidden element selection. And this allows me to select the roof even though it's hidden. And here I'm going to hold Shift and drag on the green axis. That way we create a roof. Let's toggle hidden selection off again. If I want to make this room bigger, I can click on this wall and on this wall and hit Shift and drag on the blue axis. Then do the same on the other side. Let's click here and here while holding Shift to select multiple faces. Then while holding Shift, let's drag on the blue axis and let's do the same on this side. Let's select all of these faces while holding Shift. I'm just going to move these faces here. And just like this, we've created a room with a door frame. Okay, now let's say we want to connect different rooms together. So let's select all of these faces and let's right click, duplicate faces. And here we can choose to either duplicate to a new game object or to a submesh inside of the object. So I'm going to choose submesh and I'm going to move them on the x-axis. So let's say we want to connect this door frame to this one. So I'm going to extrude here. And I'm going to delete this face, so let's right click, delete face, or I can hit backspace. And let's go to this side and hit backspace. Let's invert the normals on this. So let's select everything. Yeah, let's make sure hidden object selection is on. And also we have this button, which sets whether or not a mesh element needs to be completely encompassed by a drag to be selected. So we don't need this. Let's select everything here and let's make sure that everything is selected. So let's right click, flip face normals. And now we're going to need to join these door frames together. So let's go to vertex selection mode. So let's select this one and shift select this one. And let's right click, collapse vertices. And then I'm going to choose collapse to first and confirm. And let's do the same for the rest of the vertices. So let's select this one and this one, right click, collapse vertices, confirm. This one and this one, right click, collapse vertices and confirm. And for this one, we can also weld vertices that are close to each other. So I'm going to move this vertex to overlap the other one. So this may look fine, but these are actually two overlapping vertices. So we have two vertices here. What we can do is select these vertices, then right click, weld vertices. And here we can choose the weld distance and then confirm. And now this vertex will be a single vertex and we fix the problem. But usually if you're prototyping a level, overlapping vertices are not such a big deal. So it's perfectly normal. But if you want some geometry that you're going to use in your final product, then for the sake of having correct colliders and correct lighting, it's better to weld vertices as much as possible. Okay, so we seem to have some issues here. So for this section, this roof should have inverted normals. So let's right click on it, flip face normals. That way it will only be visible inside of the level, not outside. So this face as well seems to have wrong normals. And this one, let's flip face normals. Okay, and this has been fixed. So once you create the overall geometry of your level, it's good to add some variations. For example, we can add pillars. Like you can see here, I've added some pillars. Let's go to the lit mode. So we can add pillars, we can add variations in the level. It's always good to add variations, especially when you're making a shooter. Adding some small variations in your walls will help your player find cover. And also if you're making AI agents, they can take cover behind walls or behind pillars. And this makes the game much more interesting. Okay, let's do it in this level. Let's go to the unlit drawing mode. And I'm going to add just a bunch of cubes. So let's add a few pillars here. Let's add a pillar like this. And here, let's add some geometry over here. Something like this. And here we can add something like this. Okay, we can also add some small walls, for example. Let's add a small wall over here. And a small wall over here. That way, when the player wants to enter this room, they don't necessarily have visibility over the exit. They need to look around and find their path. So these are just ideas. You can iterate over these designs until you find something interesting. Okay, now let's talk about the lighting. By the way, I'm using Unity URP. Let's go to the lighting tab. So you can go to Window, Rendering, then Lighting. I've docked it over here next to the inspector. So what you want to do is enable baked global illumination, then choose a lighting mode. I usually go with baked indirect or with shadow mask. And you can tweak these parameters, but at first try to keep these parameters low. For example, light map resolution, try to keep it at like 20 or 40 and max light map size to 1024. And then you generate the lighting, but first we need some lights. So we need to place some lights here in order to light this scene. So I can click on the plus button here, then go to light. Then let's insert some point lights. In the point light, let's make sure the mode is set to baked. Let's choose an intensity, for example, an intensity of 2 and a color. Let's choose a blue color and let's move this light over here. Let's have it a little high like this. And let's duplicate it a bunch of times. Control D. Let's have one over here and one over here and one on this side. And for this one, let's make it orange. Next, we need to set the level geometry to static. So any object that you want to contribute to the global illumination, you need to set it as a static object. So I'm going to select all the cubes that I made with Probuilder. And I'm going to go here and check static. So now even before baking, we can preview the lights. So let's click on this icon, debug drawing mode. And here for the lighting data, I'm going to choose preview. And I'm going to keep the light map scale to 0.1 just to get some quick results. Okay, so this is more or less how it will look like. So even before baking, you can preview your lights and you can change their intensity, for example. Let's change the intensity on this one and let's wait for the preview to generate. Perhaps let's have the red light have more intensity. So it's the fourth light. Let's have it have more intensity. Then when you're satisfied with the results, you can go to the lighting tab and hit generate lighting. Okay, now the lighting has been baked. It could take a while. That's why it's a good idea to keep these values low and only crank them up when you're ready to release a demo or release your game to the public. Okay, so now we have some static lights. They look good and they are performant. So these lights will not be computed every frame as opposed to real-time lights, which is very good for performance. But we have a small problem. And to illustrate this problem, I'm going to move my FPS character over to this section of the tutorial. And I'm going to run the game. If you take a look at the weapon and the hands of the character, they don't seem to be picking up lights, even though we have these beautiful red and blue lights. My weapon and player hands are not picking up the lights. And that's because moving objects do not pick up the static lights by default. For this, we need to add some light probes. So we can go here, let's click the plus button, then go to light, then add a light probe group. So if I try to add this, Unity will not allow me to do so. Because in fact, we have two ways of doing this. We can manually place these light probes, which is a pain, to be honest. So I'm going to delete these light probes. And the other way to do it is to have Unity automatically scan your scene and insert light probes automatically. And for this, we need to use an adaptive probe volume. So here you can add it by clicking on this plus button, then lights, then adaptive probe volume. And if you have this volume here, you can choose to fit it to the scene. So this bounding box will contain all the geometry of your scene. And here you need to bake the probe volume. And before you do that, by default, a URP project will be using light probes. You need to go to the project settings, then go to graphics. Then you need to go into your default render pipeline. And here in lighting, you will find light probe system, and you can choose between light probe groups or adaptive probe volume. Okay, now the light probes have been baked. Let's run the game again. Now the character hands and weapon will pick up the lights more. So it's not as visible, and perhaps on YouTube it will be even less so. But it is indeed picking up the lights, and it also has to do with the quality of the model and also the quality of your settings and how dense you want the light probes to be. So there is a lot of stuff to configure in order to ramp up the quality of your rendering. But in this video, I'm showing you the basics. Then you can go deeper by going to the Unity manual and reading more about this stuff. Perhaps I didn't talk about outdoor scenes. So if you want to have an outdoor scene like this, so here I have this shooting range. For this, I added a wall here. So these are separate cubes, and this is another cube. And here I'm using a combination of lights to light this scene. One problem with these levels with inverted normals is that if you add a direct light to your scene, the light will go through the inverted normals and illuminate your indoor levels. So if we want to do it like this, it's not a good idea to add direct lights. Your options are limited to area lights, to point lights and spotlights, which is not so bad. So here I have an area light that's illuminating this side, and here I have a red area light that's illuminating the sign. And here I have a bunch of point lights, and I have point lights all throughout the level and also on this area. So area lights are softer and they're great if you want to illuminate light coming in from a window. Point lights are great if you want to have like light coming from light bulbs. Okay, this is it. You can play with this. You can play with your lights and see what works and what doesn't. Remember to activate this debugging tool with lighting data set to preview if you don't want to wait for the long process of baking and you want to test your lights quicker. So the next video is going to drop in a few hours. It's going to be about the very basics of creating a first-person controller in Unity. Then we'll move on from there. Thank you for watching. I hope you're as excited as I am for this new series. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.